Hello and a very warm welcome to yet another exciting episode of Mind Wars Masterclass. I am Himanshu Jain, teacher at Jamnabai Nursery International School, teaching physics for the MYP and the IBDP sections. Have you ever wondered why a parachutist travels in the downward direction after jumping off a moving airplane? Why do objects travel in the downward direction? Do all objects traveling in the downward direction accelerate uniformly? Today we will focus on answering these questions by understanding the concept of inertia, forces, gravity and uniform acceleration. So what is inertia? Inertia is the property of matter by which an object tends to maintain its state of motion. For example, a moving car will tend to continue to maintain its motion unless brakes are applied. It is very difficult to push a heavy table due to the property of inertia. We measure inertia in terms of the object's mass. Greater the mass, greater is the inertia, and hence a greater force is required to change the state of motion. So let us now discuss what is force. Force in simple words is a push or pull on an object. Force is required to change an object's position from one place to another. Force is also required to increase or decrease the speed of an object. Think about an example. A toy car, when placed on the floor, will be able to move only when a force of push or pull is applied on the object. We measure force in terms of newtons. Let us now explore what is gravity. Gravity is the property of a planet due to which it is able to attract objects towards itself. Earth has its own gravity due to which it is able to attract objects towards itself. For instance, a football when kicked in air can travel back in the downward direction because of the pull of gravity. A parachutist jumping off a moving airplane can travel in the downward direction because of the force of gravity. Gravity is also a type of force and hence it is measured in terms of newtons. Now let us understand what is meant by acceleration. A moving object is said to possess velocity. Any change in the velocity is due to the application of the force on the object, and therefore we can say a force is required to accelerate or decelerate a moving object. Acceleration can be of two types: uniform acceleration and non-uniform acceleration. Uniform acceleration is said to occur when there is an equal change in velocity in equal time intervals. For instance, if your car is moving at a speed of 20 meters per second in the first second and changes to another 20 meters per second in the second and so on, we can say that the acceleration of the car is 20 meters per second squared. Observe in the graph. In the first second, the object's velocity is 20 meters per second. And in the second, the object's velocity increases by another 20 meters per second uniformly. And therefore, we can say that the acceleration of the car is 20 meters per second squared. Non-uniform acceleration, on the other hand, occurs when there is a non-equal change in velocity in equal time intervals. For instance, if your car now travels at 20 meters per second in the first second and changes by 40 meters per second in the second and so on, we say that the car is accelerating in a non-uniform manner. Notice in the graph, in the first second, the car's velocity is 20 meters per second, whereas in the second it changes by 40 meters per second, and therefore we can say that the car is accelerating non-uniformly. Now that we have understood the meaning of inertia, force, gravity and uniform acceleration, let us now explore why do objects falling downwards accelerate uniformly. For 2000 years, people challenged Aristotle's assertion that an external force is required to keep objects moving and that a heavy object travels faster than the lighter ones, until in the 17th century when an Italian astronomer, Galileo Galilei, decided to put this idea to test. With the equipments available in 1630s, it was very difficult for Galileo to measure the speed and acceleration of falling objects. However, he had made up his mind to test this idea experimentally. He performed various experiments to show how do objects move and why do they stop. He therefore came up with the idea that the rate of fall is same for all the objects falling in the downward direction only in the absence of the force of air resistance. In presence of air resistance, the objects decelerate or slow down. Galileo's insistence on testing theories with careful observation and measurable experiments marks him as the father of modern science. His ideas on forces and motion paved the way for Newton's laws of motion 50 years later and underpin our understanding of the movement in the universe from atoms to galaxies. To conclude, we have understood today that why do objects traveling in the downward direction accelerate uniformly, and the main factor responsible for it is air resistance. An object will accelerate uniformly only in the absence of air resistance force and will decelerate or slow down if air resistance acts on it. Galileo once stated, and I quote, "Count what is countable, measure what is measurable, and what is not measurable, make it measurable." That's all for today's masterclass. For more such exciting videos, stay tuned to Mind Wars. Want to be the first one to know of such videos on Mind Wars YouTube channel? Hit subscribe and click on the bell icon. And remember, knowledge increases when you share it. So like, share and tell your friends about it.